Welcome to episode 10 of the J&J Podcast, and happy Thanksgiving to all of our listeners out there. I'm Jamie.
This is Jameson.
And we're going to get things kicked off. Jameson, in college football this week, couple of stunners. I know you have a lot to say about the Kansas Colorado game, so I'm going to pass it over to you. Let's jump in on that loss for the Buffaloes.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I'll try to keep it short. That Colorado loss was very disappointing to me. But I will say this: really, the reason why it was disappointing to me is because now with Colorado having 3 losses, they're definitely not gonna make the college football playoff. And we were even talking about this last episode. The only chance they really had was to win out the rest of their games. But I will say overall, they still played a really solid game. They had a chance coming down the stretch. They just Kansas just made the bigger plays when they needed to. Their defense came to play, and honestly, I will say this: we have been kind of commending the defensive line. That Warren Sapp had been putting out there on the field. The last couple of weeks, they just really didn't come to play. They kind of got outplayed by Kansas's offense. But I will say, I think going forward, Travis Hunter still had a really solid game. He's still the front runner for the Heisman, in my opinion, even with the loss. And they were talking about after the game, Deion Sanders just saying that he was going to use this game as like a teaching lesson for, the Colorado players. So, it was a devastating loss, but at the end of the day, this season has still been an overall success for Deion Sanders, Travis Hunter, Shador, and they're still going to be eligible for a bowl game, which, given the season that they had last year, already is, a major improvement to me. So, overall, I was disappointed with the loss, but there's some positives they can take out of that game, and then also it's a learning lesson for a lot of those players that are going to return, next season for the Buffaloes. But your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think, and I don't know that Deion Sanders said this specifically, but he said something like guys were allergic to their success.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, dudes were feeling themselves.
Yep, I saw that too.
You got some momentum. People are talking about you. And now all of a sudden you're like, oh, we've arrived.
Yeah,
you haven't arrived. You're on the up, you're on the come up, but you haven't arrived. And I think now I will say, as I watched the game, there was some, in my opinion, some cheap shots. The dude who went after Shador Sanders,
he should never be able to play college football again. That was insane.
He should be suspended for the remainder of the year.
Yeah,
and the fact was no flag. Come on.
Yeah, that was bad ball.
That was insane. That was ridiculous. So I think that some of the haters had been quiet up until this point, and all of a sudden now they're starting to come out of the woodwork. But you can hate all you want. What that man has done with this team this year, and when Sapp is able to actually get some better defensive players, they're going to be a scary team next year if Deion is still the head coach.
Facts.
That's that. I'm just interested to see if he decides to really stay, because I think there are some things that are happening both in the NFL and in college football that could coerce him to leave. I hope he doesn't.
True.
I think he's something.
And they'll have Julian Lewis coming in, even though they lost Shador. They just got him this past week, so that was right. Huge.
He flipped from USC, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So those are my thoughts. I think it's they still overachieved this year. I think they still have a chance to do some special things. Finish the season strong, do well in the bowl, in whatever bowl they get, and then kind of keep building that momentum for next year. So overall, not a bad loss, but it's not the end of the world.
No, I agree. And speaking of teams that overachieve, the Oklahoma Sooners. I'm gonna be honest with you. Did Alabama forget that there was a football game Saturday? 24-3 is bad ball. I think Jalen Miller and them boys forgot you need to put points up on the board to win the football game. But I will say this, and you've been the main person that's been saying this. Alabama teams don't fear them anymore like they used to. And we kind of, I mean, anybody with 2 eyes could honestly kind of expect that coming into the season, given you lost arguably the best college football coach of all time in Nick Saban. So, their new coach, you still have to give him time to adjust, and, he has to kind of try to transition to his style of play, how he wants to call plays, the type of players he wants to try to continue to bring in. NIL has also hurt that too because, there's a lot of the high school recruits and stuff that would have automatically just committed to Alabama are now going to other schools where they can get more money and more shine. So, it's going to be interesting to see the next couple of years if Alabama can still continue to be a powerhouse. Of course, they're always going to have the cachet and the name of, being Alabama in college football, and that does mean something. But to a lot of other teams, it really doesn't mean anything right now. You can tell, like, Oklahoma came out, punched them in the mouth, and they didn't respond. Um, like, and really, it's really a cause for concern because it's like there's not that many games left in the season, and Alabama with even all the playmakers that they have, Ryan Williams, Jalen Milroe, a solid offensive line, they could only put up 3 points in an entire college football game to versus an unranked opponent. So I think overall that was a huge win for Oklahoma, but that might have been one of the worst losses that Alabama has had in the last decade, especially given the fashion that it's not like that was a shootout. They literally put up 3 points. Like, that's bad ball. But your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. Well, we talked a little bit about the parity in college football and there
Yeah.
not being like a dominant team like Georgia in the past or like Alabama in the past. And what I will say is their name right now, because I heard, and I might have seen it on Twitter, but I'm pretty sure I heard it on ESPN. Some pundits were saying things like, "Well, if they were to win out, being a 3-loss team, there's a chance." I'm like, "No, there's not."
Nah,
And
if
you should look at
Colorado
the
don't
total.
got a chance, bro, they shouldn't have a
That,
chance.
that's exactly what I was about to say. If
Nah.
Colorado doesn't have a chance,
Mm-mm.
the fact that somebody is literally fixing their mouth
Yeah.
to say that Alabama with 3 losses should potentially make it is
And that
ridiculous.
just
That was
goes back to the Alabama cachet in their name because that's the
yes,
only reason why people are talking like that because it's the Alabama program because
that's
they don't
exactly right.
deserve it over some of these other
No,
teams. They
no,
just
you
don't.
lose to Oklahoma and they're not even ranked, and as you said, you put 3 points on the board. Come
Yeah.
on, man. So
Sorry.
e- disgusting
Yeah.
is what it was.
Yeah.
That was a trifling display of football. That's what that was.
Mm-hmm. It really
Um,
was.
so I don't have much more to say. I don't think that there's just a dominant team. It's probably good that they expanded to 12 teams this year,
Yeah.
um, because some of the teams that are supposed to be on top, honestly, they suck.
Even
Um,
like a team like Texas is just like you saw what happened to Quinn Ewers. Like he's hurt.
yes,
So
yes,
that's something to monitor now too. It's like Arch Manning has proven he can play good, but at the same token, it's just like all these top teams that like you're just thinking, oh, they're just gonna win it all. Like they're just. It seems like all the top teams still have question marks. So it'll be interesting.
You know what
agreed.
else is interesting though? Bryce Young.
Ooh,
So go ahead and talk about that. He played well against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
They lost in overtime, right? Or
Uh.
was it just a field goal at the end of regulation? I think it was at the
Yeah, it
end
was
of
filled
regulation.
right into regulation.
But yeah, go ahead and get into that.
But I'll be honest, that was the only positive thing out of Alabama this past weekend because that was the Alabama Bryce I saw slinging the football yesterday. And this, I'm a huge Bryce Young fan. So seeing that game yesterday, I was blown away. Like some of the throws that Bryce Young was able to make, it's like he literally looked like a completely different football player than the guy that I saw even 3 weeks ago. So I'm just really happy that Bryce is finally playing with confidence. Like you could tell. I'm not really one for moral victories. I mean moral losses, but that was the prime example of you know even I was at that game yesterday, and even after the game, like Panthers fans, they actually got their money's worth. Like Panthers fans were not leaving the stadium in tears or upset or just like complaining about ownership, etc. Like they were genuinely excited about what the potential could be for the future for our Bryce Young and the Panthers. And one thing I was also impressed was with two was just Bryce Young's poise because they were down in that game. It's like you're playing against the defending Super Bowl champions, and Patrick Mahomes had probably arguably his best game he's had the entire season. So the fact they were able to go toe to toe with Patrick Mahomes, like Bryce Young threw no interceptions yesterday. He almost had like a 95% passing rating. He actually scrambled outside of the pocket with the football. I think he had like 45 to 50 rushing yards. Like he took minimal sacks. So I was blown away with what I saw from the Panthers. And I'll be honest, this is why I said a couple weeks ago, Dave Canales can never bench him again. Because I don't care if he has a bad game or two. It's just like when Bryce Young continues to build upon that confidence, you see what he can do. And what makes it even worse is to just, hype up Bryce even more. He's doing it with minimal weapons. His best weapon yesterday was Xavier Legette, and down the stretch, he dropped 2 or 3 passes where I just wanted to go out there and slap him with a horse saddle. Like, I don't know what that brother was doing near the end of the game. But I will say this: if they can continue to just try to be competent, it's all about the decisions that the Panthers make going forward, because it's like they've kind of shown in the past that they will make bad decisions. So I'm hoping that, going forward, they can try to get him some weapons. Though right now they're projected to get a top 5 pick in this upcoming year's draft. I'm telling you, boy, they better do everything in their power to try to go get Travis Hunter. Because Lord have mercy, if Bryce could have somebody like Travis Hunter, like a playmaker like that, man, it could be scary hours in Carolina. Especially, I thought about it too. If they get Travis Hunter and he really wants to play cornerback as well, pairing up him and J.C. Horn, that's going to be straight lockup, straight Alcatraz penitentiary lockup. So we're going to see what the Panthers do going forward. But yesterday was a huge, step in the right direction for the franchise, even though they lost.
Yeah, I agree. So I have a couple of different thoughts about this game. Number one, when they said Sanders, I was like, wait a minute, that's not Miles Sanders. And then they said Moore. I was like, wait, that's not DJ Moore. I don't know who in the world.
Like, that's the point. Yeah, exactly.
Like, who is he throwing the football to besides Thielen? Like, who else? Chuba Hubbard is, he's doing his thing. I'm glad they re-signed him. He got the extension.
Yeah.
Honestly, he's worth it.
Facts.
He's played well. He's been the bright spot. Bryce looked really, really good. But what I took away from that game is the Chiefs are ripe for the taking.
Yep. I was gonna bring that up.
They are ripe for the taking. And with the exception of a few holding calls that are never made in a Chiefs game, like it used to be with the Patriots game.
Yep.
There's no way that dude has that much time to throw the football.
Yeah, I saw that firsthand at the game, and that's all the fans kept talking about. Like, there were so many plays where, like, Patrick Mahomes, it was like he would literally call up to his wife, go talk to her, and then still be able to throw to a dude wide open. It was like, bruh, like, it was absolutely insane. It's like, I saw it firsthand, in person.
Well, and there were a couple of times I was like, he just went to a Taylor Swift concert, came back, threw the football, and still there was no holding call. I mean, come on, man. This is ridiculous. Like, there were points in the game I'm like, so y'all don't see that holding.
Yep.
This dude literally has all day to throw the football. And for them to still have the referees on their side, dudes wearing red and white rather than black and white.
Facts.
That they are right for the taking.
Yep.
And I think that if you look at the Buffalo Bills, if you look at the Ravens, if John Harbaugh decides I'm going to actually run the football and play to our strengths, they could ease. And I'm saying this, predicting it, although I know that they're always going to make sure that the Chiefs stay in the game.
Facts.
But I'm predicting if John Harbaugh were to call a good game and then actually run the football, and I say John Harbaugh, I know he's not the offensive coordinator, but he has say so.
Yeah.
He's got to do a better job of that. The Bills will run the football because they're going to make sure that Josh Allen has the opportunity to do some play action.
Yeah, another team we talked about last week. The Chiefs don't want to play the Broncos right now in the first round.
Agree.
No, sir.
Because boy, they play balanced football.
That's what I'm saying. They should have beat them a couple weeks ago.
They absolutely should have. Yeah. So my takeaway from that game, yes, Bryce looked great. I'm happy for him. I am. I'm hoping that he continues to build on it. If the head coach has good common sense, he'll continue to build on that. And then if the owner has good sense, he'll go out and find a couple more weapons to put around him.
I agree.
Bryce is going to be okay.
He's going to be fine. He's going to be just fine.
So speaking of teams that I thought were going to be fine, what in the world happened to the Commanders? Like,
I'll tell you. Their special teams sucked yesterday. That's why they lost.
I've always talked about, just like when the Ravens played the Steelers and when the Ravens played the Browns.
Yeah, it's a rivalry.
It's rivalry, and so, but I did not
They
see
should not
that.
have lost that game though, because
No,
even
go ahead.
like even I'm gonna be honest, I watched the ending of that game. That was one of the craziest endings I've seen to a football game, and probably to honestly to what should have been a meaningless football game in recent memory. Because even when Turpin ended up getting that the kick return, like he muffed the kick, then got a full complete return out of it. Then you follow that up. The Cowboys are up 7. It's 27-20. Jaden Daniels throws a laser to Terry McLaurin. It reminded me of that Stephon Diggs play against the Saints. It's like the Cowboys just didn't tackle. Like he
Right,
threw it to Terry McLaurin. This man runs 65, 70 yards, scores. So it's 20. It's yeah,
everybody.
yeah. It's 26-27. Then the field goal kicker misses the extra point. So now what should be a tie game is 27-26. There's not a lot of time left, so the Commanders have been forced to do
Onside
an
kick.
onside kick. I've never seen this in my life. The Cowboys returned the onside kick for a touchdown.
It's touchdown.
I've never
Yeah,
seen. I've never.
yeah,
You can't even recreate that on Madden. I can't. I
yeah.
can't. I can't. And honestly, what makes that even funnier is with the new kickoff rules. Like the kickoff rules that made it even
Right.
harder for you to try to get kickoff returns. They got 2 back to back, and one was on an onside kick. I've never in
It
my
was
life
almost,
seen that
it was
before.
almost like it was great plays, but it was almost like a blooper
Yeah,
reel.
it was
Like,
exactly.
you know what I'm saying? Like, how in the world did these crazy things keep happening? McLaurin, with literally 3 dudes surrounding him, he looked at them like, beep, beep, I'm going. Y'all,
Exactly.
y'all can't catch me.
And
Then he
Terry
flipped the ball
McLaurin's fast, but it's like there's no way you should be out running the
faster.
secondary like that when they're in a cover 4 drop. Like that's bad
Also
ball.
had the angle. Like the
Exactly.
DBs had the angle and he still outran them. I'm like, this is not Tyreek Hill. What are y'all doing?
Exactly.
So that was insane to me. So I'm looking at Mike McCarthy on the sideline. By the way, he was like a little bit perturbed that the dude returned
Yeah, because it gave them some
the
more time. Because
onside
then
kick.
they were only down 8 at that point. So
Right.
then yeah, they could have scored and gone for it. But I'll be honest, it's like, bro, I would have read that for the 6 too.
That in. I don't care what you
I'm
say.
about to
I'm
say,
running that
I'm
in.
getting
Oh,
some good
I don't
film.
get to touch the ball that often either. Oh, you better believe I'm running that in.
Yeah, bro,
Look,
I'm gonna get my
especially in the
shine,
zone.
bro.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that was a crazy
But you know
that was
what's
a
wild
crazy
about
game.
that for the Commanders, and we'll get to the Eagles game, but that was such
Yeah.
a bad loss for them because the Eagles won
Yes.
yesterday. Like
Yes.
now the Eagles have control of that division. So,
You're right.
there's still plenty there's 5 or 6 games left. I think it's 6 for every team, but at the same token it's like that's a game you should have won, bro. Like you can't
And
lose
it's
to
home.
Cooper Rush, man. Exact, and you're
At
right, it was a
home.
home game. Like Jay-Z
Yes.
was there the whole 9. Like they had that stadium rocking. And it's
They
like to
did.
lose to Cooper Rush, that's bad
Yeah.
ball.
Stadium was rocking and then they got rocked. Um,
Facts.
so so look, transitioning over. Speaking of getting rocked. Uh what is the 49ers backup quarterback's name? Because my God,
His last
he
name's
got
Allen, Brandon Allen.
Brandon Allen, he
Yeah.
got abused. Listen,
I'm gonna be honest. I
I
felt bad for him um, because I will say this: Christian McCaffrey just got back, and
yes,
and typically I don't necessarily sit out here and feel bad for teams, but the 49ers have just they're. It's like every week 2 or 3 of their star players are hurt. It's like they haven't had a 2 or 3 game stretch this entire season where it's like, yeah, I have my weapons, I have my playmakers. Like it's McCaffrey's been out the entire season. Then when he gets back, Brock Purdy's hurt. George Kittle's missed a couple games. Debo Samuel's missed
Debo
time.
Samuel.
So it's like, and then like their offensive line has been, struck with injury throughout the season. Their defense hasn't been fully healthy. And
It's
why
a
kind of,
makeshift at best,
yeah,
to be
and
honest with
why
you,
I feel
offensive
bad
line.
for them is too like they're one of those teams that's right there at the salary, and they're like why I feel bad for them was this was their year with all the weapons that they have, and before they had to pay Brock Purdy this offseason to get it done. This team is going to look completely different this offseason. Because think about it too. They just re-signed Brandon Ayuk, but he's hurt. He's out for the rest of the season. It's like they haven't been
Forgot
completely,
about him.
yeah, they haven't been completely healthy at all this entire season. So it's like,
They're like my fantasy basketball team.
yep, exactly.
They really are.
Yeah.
If for the listeners out there, my fantasy basketball team, I have Joel Embiid, I have DeJounte Murray, I have Bradley Beal. I don't even need to go any farther.
Yeah, that's
But
bad
I
ball.
also have DeAndre Hunter. I mean, I don't have anybody who has actually played in every single game yet.
Yep.
I really don't. It's pathetic.
Fact.
So that's who the 49ers look like.
You know what I was going to say too, though? What people are really not talking about is the Green Bay Packers right now, though. Like, I feel like people have been sleeping on them because what is the Packers' record right now? They're 8-3, and no one's talking about that. And I will say the one positive for them has been Jordan Love has not played that good the last 4 or 5 weeks. Like, people have even been talking about some of his decision making. Like, they're comparing him to Brett Favre, for bad reasons. Excuse me.
Yes.
But I will say even yesterday, Jordan Love didn't even have the craziest game. But one thing they did show that they can do, and this is exactly how they beat the Cowboys last year, is they can run the football with Josh Jacobs. Like, it's so funny to me how coaches finally realize, like, we have a star running back. Let's just hand him the football. They do that yesterday with Josh Jacobs. What does the brother do? 3 tutties. Like, it's not rocket science. And I get it. Like, I know this is a quarterback-driven league, but at the same time, it's just like, you don't have to put everything on your quarterback. Prime example of that is Dak Prescott this year. Dak Prescott has not really been able to show and have that MVP caliber type season like he did last year because he's been asked to do everything. He doesn't have a running game. It's like people, like coaches and GMs and owners don't realize it's like, bruh, the running back is there to help make the offense easier and to help make the quarterback's life easier. It's like, it shows. We're going to get to Saquon Barkley, but it's just like, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, even yesterday, like part of the reason why Bryce was able to have a clean pocket and stuff, the Panthers barely were able to establish the run, but they still sprinkled in the run plays. And Chuba Hubbard is such a threat that you have to, be your defense has to stay honest. So
John Harbaugh, did you hear that? They sprinkled in the run.
Yeah, like seeing that yesterday, I'm just like, it's kind of scary because I'm like, Jordan Love has not even been playing that crazy, and they're 8-3. And now they're actually running the football. So I'm like, imagine if Jordan Love gets it going. Like, Lord have mercy.
What's the backup's name to Jordan Love?
Malik Willis.
Yeah, because there were a couple of games Malik Willis played better than Jordan Love.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
He absolutely did. And they adjusted the offense and they made sure that they ran the football. But sometimes, even with a really, really good quarterback, it's okay to hand the ball off.
Facts.
It really is.
And I think people forget Jordan Love is still young. Like, I think people kind of just thought that he was older than he was because of the way he just ramrodded the Cowboys last year. But Jordan Love is still young. This is like, he's only been playing as a full starter for like 1.5 years, 2 years. So it's just like, he's still a young quarterback. And what do you do for a young quarterback? You establish the run, make the game easier for him. It's not rocket science. But speaking of running the football, Saquon Barkley. Lord,
in the MVP running.
Lord have mercy. I'm gonna go ahead and let you give your thoughts first, and I'll just follow up afterwards. But that brother is special.
So I know we're gonna talk about very briefly, because it's not worth having a long conversation. Yeah. We're gonna briefly talk about Daniel Jones and the Giants.
Yeah.
But my God, how stupid do the Giants
look? Makes them look stupider every day.
Absolutely. I mean, yes, as you would say, that brother is special. It is a joy to watch Saquon Barkley run the football.
Yep.
Because he's making folks look stupid out there.
Absolutely stupid.
Listen, cutbacks, crossing cats over, knocking cats over, jumping over cats. It is impressive.
255 rushing yards on 26 carries. That's a little less than 10 yards a carry.
Yes. This dude looks like Derrick Henry did in high school when he carried the ball.
I'm telling you, it's ridiculous. And you know what's wild?
9,000 yards.
You know what's wild? Who's my favorite running back of all time and player of all time?
Oh, of all time?
Yeah.
In football.
Running back.
Oh, Eric Dickerson.
Yep. You know what's wild? Yes. I never thought I'd see it in my lifetime, but he has a chance to beat Eric Dickerson's rushing record.
Oh, that's crazy.
Eric Dickerson had 2,100. He had 2,104 rushing yards in 1984. Saquon has a chance to beat that. There's 6 games left.
Wow, I didn't realize
He genuinely, he's on pace to potentially have a chance to beat that. And to take it even a step further, they have a stat for who gets the most yards from scrimmage in a season. Chris Johnson has that record because people forget what makes Saquon so dominant is he can also catch the football. He has a chance to break that record as well that Chris Johnson set on the Titans a couple years ago.
He can potentially break C2K's
Yeah,
record?
he could do both.
Wow.
In his first year on a new team.
Yeah, when you said Eric Dickerson, I thought you were going to say he reminds you. That, to me, that's more like Derrick Henry because of how big he is and he runs upright.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, to actually potentially surpass or break that record, that's big time. You have to now put Saquon Barkley. I mean, there's really nothing to say about the Rams. Yeah. I'll be honest. This is really focused on Saquon Barkley, the Eagles, and Jalen Hurts. Again, similar scenario.
Yeah.
Not having to do much.
No.
Just hand the ball off, throw the ball when you need to throw the football. But if Saquon Barkley is playing like this, let him cook.
Even yesterday, they put up 37 points without Devontae Smith. Because Jalen Hurts did throw a couple of touchdowns. It just, their offense is scary. And I'm going to say this. Right now in the NFC, it's a two-man race between them and the Lions. Because I will say this, and I don't even think we're really going to cover the Lions because it's another week for the Lions, what they did yesterday against the Colts. But the thing about the Eagles is they're the one team I feel like in the NFC that can actually match up, with the Lions because what do the Lions have that most other teams don't have right now is a run game. And literally you have the best running back. Saquon Barkley might be the best player in football right now. I'm just going to be flat out honest with you. Like, we've been saying Lamar, people going to say Josh Allen, but what he's been able to do, that he's literally saved Nick Sirianni's job. Because I thought about this today. I'm like, they've won 7 straight games now, but you remember this was like episode 3 or 4 of the podcast. We thought we thought we were going to be here on the hot seat. Yeah. Saquon Barkley has single-handedly saved his brother's job. He saved that brother's job. And I'm going to be like, I got to go look back. He might be the best free agent signing in recent history in the entire NFL. I mean, of course, Derrick Henry has been great for the Ravens, but he's literally brought culture and swagger back to Philly. Like, they ain't had this in a long time.
In the top 5.
He's got to be.
Recent signings. He's got to.
I'm telling you, it's insane. I'm impressed from week to week. And one thing I like about this too is, like, I don't know how those players think in that locker room, but I guarantee you they want him to break these records. Like, you can tell. Okay. Like yesterday, he carried the football 26 times. It's like, I'm hoping John Harbaugh was watching that game yesterday. Because it's like, bro, that's what happens when you have an all-pro running back and you actually give him carries and touches. Like, I'm not trying to compare Derrick because Derrick Henry might not have had 260 yards yesterday. He could have had 170, though, with 26 carries. I'll tell you that much. So, and like you said, to reiterate your point, look how much easier the offense was for Jalen Hurts and going forward. So, but I'll leave it at that.
Cool. So, I briefly touched on MVP talk. I know we're gonna let's spend just a couple minutes on that. I have to put Saquon Barkley in the conversation now.
I completely agree.
I have to. You have to put him in the conversation. Lamar is still there. I think Lamar needs to play well tonight.
He does.
And because I think that, Josh Allen has the potential. I mean, of course, people were immediately after the last game when they beat the Chiefs, they were like, "Oh no, he's a front runner." Yeah. No, But if Lamar has another stinker, then Facts. I think he's on your heels. So for me, it's still Lamar. This isn't in necessarily any order. It's Lamar. I think Josh Allen is still on his heels, but I now think you have to put Saquon Barkley, and God knows if Barkley is able to
break that record.
I mean, come on, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think what we got to be, wary of too is just a lot of people suffer from recency bias and they take it from week to week because nobody was talking about Saquon Barkley being in the MVP talk last week. Like, even the ESPN odd makers had him like tied with Sam Darnold on the list. So I think realistically we just got to continue to monitor it, take it from week to week. Because I genuinely think, though, but like you said, if he ends up breaking or even comes close to breaking Eric Dickerson's record or CJ2K, he's no doubt in my mind the MVP because he's also, like I just said, he's literally changed that entire franchise in his first season there. Like I just mentioned, he's saving Nick Sirianni's job. Like he's making the game easier for everybody. The defense, the offensive line, like the quarterbacks, the receivers. Like just to put into perspective, then we'll move on. AJ Brown, who is a top 5 wide receiver in the entire National Football League, said he didn't even like after the game when they interviewed him. He said, "I didn't mind that I got less touches at the wide receiver spot because we have Saquon Barkley." What wide receiver do you hear around the NFL in recent history that's going to say, "Yeah, throw me the ball less and run it more"? That just puts into perspective. You get what I'm saying?
That's a big deal.
That's high praise.
It's high praise, but it also shows the kind of teammate he is.
Exactly.
And yeah, because I remember one other game. Then we'll move on to the team that he used to actually be on and talk about them for literally a hot second.
Yeah.
That's all they deserve.
Facts.
But I remember earlier in this season, I think the coach wanted him to get something. I don't remember exactly what it was, whether it was 100 yards or something. He said, "I'm good. Let the young dudes play. Let the young dudes cook." Because it was a game that they were, I guess, blowing the other team out. Yeah, and he actually said, "Nah, I'm good. I'm coming out and let the young dudes play."
He's being a leader.
He's been a leader. That's the kind of dude that you want.
Yep.
So I hope that he continues to have good games like this.
Me too.
I'm rooting for him to break that record. And with that said, a very quick transition to Daniel Jones. I don't know how in the world, like, to be able to be the starting quarterback and then to be moved to the 4th string quarterback.
To be playing safety on the scout team is bad ball, man.
It's crazy ball. And then, like, so as I started reading the reports and they said something like, yeah, he's eyeing teams that are playoff.
Yeah, it said the Ravens and like the Raiders. I'm like, well, brother, if you're on the Ravens, you just gonna be watching film. You ain't taking Lamar's spot.
Basically, what you want to do is go to a team that might win a Super Bowl, so you can say you won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, he thinks he's Kendrick Perkins. You're not.
Like, what is this dude talking about? So, when I saw that, I was like, wow, like you have leverage.
Yeah.
What do you like? Like you have done something to say to a team, no, I want to come and play for a contender because I've done so much. No, you stunk up the joint.
Here's what I'm gonna say too, though, about Daniel Jones, and trust me, he has not played good. But at the same time, like prime example of this was Malik Neighbors even said after the game. I don't think it was like you could tell even watching that game yesterday. He literally said he was like it's not the quarterback's fault. Like I think a lot of it has just been the way and when your star wide receiver is saying that the game after the Daniel Jones is gone, that says a lot. But I think honestly too, the Giants are getting what they deserve because they've treated their superstars poorly and their franchise guys. This is dating all the way back to how they did Eli Manning on his way out, Odell, Saquon. So they're getting what they deserve. But we're going to leave it at that because the Giants are a poverty franchise.
Indeed.
I could have said something crazy. The Lakers aren't, but y'all can't beat the Nuggets for nothing. So go ahead and start us on that, Jameson.
Really? Here's what I'm gonna.
That's how you want to intro.
Yeah, that's insane.
My fault. Hey, go Thunder.
Here's what I'm gonna say, man. Just the Lakers, they really disappointed me in that game. We were up by 5 at half, so I remember it was 62-57. But I'll be honest, I knew coming out in the second half we were stagnant. Like there was a stretch where we scored like 5 points in like a span of 10 minutes of basketball play. So I knew at that point it was over. And I will just say this. I don't know if Nikola Jokić just hates Anthony Davis, but he suns him every time they play. It's just like, and I'm going to go and say this right now. I hate saying this, but Nikola Jokić is going to get MVP again this season. He's going to be what would this be, his 4th time winning the award? Something like that. So I can already tell you now he's going to be a 4-time MVP. And to make matters worse, that brother hadn't played in 3 games. Shout out to him too. Him and his wife just welcomed a son. But the brother didn't play in 3 games. Probably just got back from Serbia horseback riding and just did that to Anthony Davis, man, and to the Lakers. It hurts my soul. And it's just like that's the type of game where you gotta play with pride. The Nuggets have had our number the last 3-4 years, and they continue to have our number. So it it was very frustrating. But the one positive for the Lakers is we're still number 4 in the West right now. So we'll see. And last thing I'm gonna say before I transition it to you, that game also showed me too. Rob Pelinka better make a move sooner rather than later, because even though we're winning games, that game right there showed me we still need to make a move if we're gonna be able to compete come playoff time. So your thoughts though?
Yeah, I can't even say everything I want to say. But speaking of riding horses, AD got punked.
Yeah, he did.
And listen, when I say he got punked, he got punked. Jokić literally owns him. There's no other way to put it. You have a half-hearted game play against the Nuggets, and that team has our number. I saw that JJ Redick said it. He said we came out with the wrong intensity or no intensity. We came out defeated.
Yep.
And they did. They had a 5-point lead, and they came out and said, we're not going to be able to beat this team. And they gave up in the third quarter. That's what happened. Jokić is this, and I'm going to say something controversial. He should win the MVP this year going away. 2 years ago, I felt like he shouldn't have won it going
He shouldn't have won it last year either.
Well, last year is what I meant to say.
Yeah. Years ago. Well, no, you're honestly right about that. Like he won it over Joel Embiid and he won it over Shea.
Over Shea.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily agree with those, but this year,
yeah, he got it.
What is it? 29, 11, and 12 or 13?
Yeah.
That's what he's putting up.
He got it.
And then you make Anthony Davis look like he's a rookie in the league. That's what he looked like. That's it. It was painful to watch. It was ridiculous. But you talked about this Joker coming back from Serbia riding horses. Yeah. Anthony Davis might as well have a saddle on. It was ridiculous.
And
sad.
It's just like, I'll say this, like, because we love basketball. Jokić is just like, I'm just blown away watching him play basketball. Like, his floaters that he shoots, he can shoot the three. He's arguably one of the best passers I've ever seen. I'm not even just talking about, I'm just talking about just pure passers, and point guards included. He has a handle, and his game is just methodical. Like, this dude's the biggest dude on the court at his size, and he's backdoor cutting AD, who's supposed to be an all-world defender. It's just, he does it multiple ways, and it's like, what are you going to do about it? You can't stop it.
He's like a big Larry Bird.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, if you actually think about it, because the things that Larry Bird would do, Larry Bird would, in the 3-point shooting contest, he walked in and said, who's coming in second?
Yeah.
Jokić looked at Anthony Davis and said, when he stepped on the court, he said, oh, I'm dropping 40 on you.
In Serbian.
Right.
In Serbian, too. I just love watching him play. It annoys me, though, that he always cooks the Lakers, but I just love watching him play.
He said it to him in English, and he said it to him in Serbian. That's what he told me. He said, I'm going to, defensive player of the year, I'm going to drop 40 on you.
Yep.
And then he said it in Serbian.
Yeah.
It was pathetic.
It was
a terrible showing. And I will say this, because I've told you this before. I knew that the Lakers potentially could start out strong, but I also told you that by Christmas, if they hadn't made some moves, if they hadn't done something, if Rob Pelinka hadn't done something, that this lead was not going to hold.
Facts.
And I'm seeing it already. I see flaws. I see kinks in the armor. I see where we need to go out and get some help. But I also see Rob Pelinka consistently sitting on his hands like he's done for the last 3 years.
Facts.
So I'm paying attention. I can tell you that by Christmas time, because I think we play on Christmas Day.
Yeah, play the Warriors
on Christmas Day. So I'm telling you now, between now and Christmas, if some moves haven't been made, we're going to be frustrated with the Lakers like we have been for the last 2 years.
Facts.
I see it playing out the exact same way. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think that I am. So
keep stacking. Salute.
Well,
speaking of that,
who's going in the wrong, who's actually in the reverse of what the Lakers are doing? Because my God, the Bucks started out terribly.
Yeah, they've turned it around.
They've turned it around. They now seem to be on a roll. I think that, and I'll say this, and I know you have some thoughts about it as well.
Yeah,
I think that what we're seeing is Damian Lillard is finally figuring out the best way to play with Giannis.
Yep.
And I'm just going to be, very candid. I last year I could tell that Lillard came into camp out of shape.
Yeah.
It was obvious.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't finishing games. He was getting injured a lot more.
Yeah.
We're not used to seeing that, and he admitted it that because of all the stuff that he had going on in his personal life, that he didn't come in
Yeah.
the way that he would. And so I'm now seeing them starting to figure each other out, how to best play with them. And then the other thing that folks aren't really talking about is Brook Lopez has fallen.
Yeah, he
Um,
has.
and I'm not even going to talk about the fact that we had a chance to go get him again.
Yeah, that's a bad
But
ball.
he's been balling out. So I like the trajectory that I'm seeing with the Bucks. It's interesting to see how whether or not they can maintain this, but I think they figure some things out. Bobby Portis is now seems to be healthy.
Yeah.
So they figure some things out, and I'll pass it on to you.
No, I completely agree. I think Dame is finally starting to get into a rhythm. I've just still said this, and I've stuck by this. I just still don't see them being as successful as people think. It's just because him and Giannis just don't coexist well. Like,
Yeah.
like prime example of that is they still been able to win in spite of that. And I had to bring this up. Huge shout out to LaMelo. He was one of my favorite players. But the fact that LaMelo had 50 and 15, Brandon Miller had 38, and the Bucks still won that game says a lot about the turnaround that they have had. But I really just got to give a lot of the credit to Giannis. I mean, he's single-handedly put the team on his back. Like, he's been hooping. He's played phenomenal on both ends of the floor. He's given it his all. And I'm really kind of concerned for Giannis because I'm like, similar to Jokic, his usage rate is just ridiculous. Like, I just don't know if he's going to be able to maintain this, especially with Giannis' style of play, without getting injured. Because that's what hurt them last year, in the playoffs. Giannis got hurt and Dame was hurt. So, I'm glad they turned it around because, it was suck continuing to see the Bucks lose games, in the fashion that they were. But it'll be interesting to see if they can actually keep it up. I still think, even when Chris Middleton comes back, they still might have to try to make a trade deadline type of move. Like, I know they've been rumored to try to maybe go make a trade with the Nets and get Cam Thomas and Dorian Finney-Smith. I think they need more offense and like people that can actually go get their own shot outside of just Dame and Giannis. They need some more complimentary scores, so we'll see what continue to happen. But that's really all I wanted to really talk about today with the NBA. But yeah.
Cool.
Well, if that's it for the NBA, we can go on to moving the needle. So, Jameson, we'll start with you again this week.
I only got one, and it pains me to say this is my moving the needle, but I just got to give a huge shout out to the UCLA women's basketball team. They beat South Carolina yesterday. South Carolina had literally not lost a game in 4 years. So the fact that they actually beat that streak, I know. Like, it really, my moving the needle is giving credit to UCLA, but it's also like, man, like, South Carolina is different. But that's my moving the needle this week. So shout out to the UCLA women's basketball team.
Well, at the time of this recording, my moving the needle is actually an upset for in men's college basketball because UConn lost. Memphis beat them in the Maui Invitational, and now, granted, I don't necessarily think that the game should have been as close. It ended up going into overtime, but it was a wonderful game to watch because I'm just going to be very honest. If your last name is Hurley, I'm not feeling you. Didn't like Dan, didn't like Bobby when he played at Duke. Y'all know I'm a Tar Heel. Don't like his brother. And I'm glad that they lost today. He ended up getting a tech, and he should have already had another tech because of how he literally berates the referees, like using the F-bomb over and over and over again. So shout out to Anthony Hardaway and the Memphis Tigers. They beat the UConn Huskies. That's my move in the needle for this week.
Smooth. Well, as we do every week, Monday Night Football, that game's going to start in about an hour. We got the Ravens and the Chargers. So predictions for that, and we'll start with you, Jamie.
Yep. So I'm going to go with the Ravens. I really need to see them have a bounce back game this week. I need to see Lamar play better, and I need to see John Harbaugh and the offensive coordinator decide to give Derrick Henry the ball so that it can open things up for Lamar. So I'm going to go, and it's brother against brother, by the way.
Battle of the Hardballs.
Battle of the Hardballs. So I'm going to go with the Ravens. I'm not going with John, but I'm going with the Ravens.
No, I completely agree. I'm going with the Ravens. If Todd Monken is not an imbecile, they ought to win that game. Just run the football, establish the run, make things easier for Lamar, and I think Lamar has a bounce back performance. And we're probably putting him at number 1 on the MVP list after this game. That's my prediction.
Okay, so we got 3 Thursday night football because it's Thanksgiving. So we'll go one by one, and y'all can just give these rapid fire if you want.
Bet.
Bears and Lions. Jameson, we'll start with you.
Lions.
Jamie?
It's definitely the Lions. I had to look at it again because are we even calling this? It's the Bears and the Lions. Yeah, Lions.
You got to throw it in there. Giants and Cowboys. Jameson?
I hate to do this, but I'm taking the Cowboys. I think they just going to have crazy momentum given their win against the Commanders, so I'm going to take the Cowboys, and the Giants suck.
Jamie?
Yeah. Agreed. I hate that I'm actually choosing the Cowboys. But yeah, it's the Cowboys because the Giants stink.
This is going to be the one prediction y'all don't get mad if it's wrong.
Yeah, facts.
Exactly.
Happy if it's wrong.
That's right.
And then to round it off, Dolphins and the Packers.
I'm going to take the Packers. I kind of want to take the Dolphins the way Tua has looked the last couple of weeks, but I trust Jordan Love and the Packers to get it done.
Same with me. I think that they're going to run the football, keep the football away from the Dolphins, and hopefully they'll use that same formula because I can use those touchdowns from Jacobs. So yeah, that's it for the week. We want to wish everybody happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back next week. Thanks again for listening.
Facts.
That's the J&J Podcast for this week.